A place of utter desolation, extreme cold, and profound mystery, Antarctica stands as Earth's most remote and least understood frontier. Beneath its vast, unyielding ice sheets lie ancient relics, fossilized secrets, and unexplained formations that could reshape our understanding of history itself, challenging everything we thought we knew about the planet's past. For generations, this immense frozen wilderness was merely a blank expanse on early maps, an inhospitable realm at the furthest edge of human knowledge. Spanning an area twice the size of Australia and dwarfing the entire European continent, Antarctica holds an astonishing 90% of the world's ice, yet remains largely unexplored. As modern technology pushed the boundaries of discovery, strange anomalies began to surface. Old cartographic records depict a landmass free of ice, while satellite imagery reveals geometric patterns too precise to be the work of nature alone. Tales of secret research facilities, hidden archaeological finds, and unexplained phenomena have only fueled the intrigue surrounding this icy expanse. In this documentary, we will journey deep into the heart of Antarctica's mysteries. We'll uncover the ancient legends, the astonishing discoveries, and the controversial theories that suggest the continent may be concealing far more than just frozen wilderness. From whispered government cover ups to peculiar structures buried in the ice, we'll sift through history, eyewitness accounts, and scientific evidence to reveal what might be concealed beneath the surface. Prepare to witness astonishing visuals, hear untold stories, and confront the chilling question: what truths lie buried in Antarctica's icy depths? In 2016, high resolution satellite imagery captured a stunning enigma deep within Antarctica's Ellsworth Mountains. Nestled beneath layers of ice and snow stood an unusual peak, distinctive for its sharp, symmetrical edges and pointed apex. From an aerial perspective, the formation bore a striking resemblance to the legendary pyramids of Giza. This peculiar feature rises to approximately 150 feet above sea level and is situated in a remote, rarely visited section of the Ellsworth Range, not far from the Patriot Hills Research Outpost. At first glance, its flawless geometry raised eyebrows across the scientific and conspiracy communities alike. Geologists studying the region argue that this pyramid is simply a nunatak, a rock outcrop protruding above the surrounding ice sheet. Over the course of millions of years, relentless Antarctic winds, extreme temperature shifts, and repeated freeze-thaw cycles sculpted the mountain's sharp edges and flat surfaces. This type of erosion, known as freeze-thaw weathering, is common in polar environments and can naturally produce surprisingly regular geometric features. Similar natural pyramid-like mountains exist elsewhere in the world, such as the iconic Matterhorn in the Swiss Alps. Yet what sets the Antarctic formation apart is its four clearly defined triangular faces, forming an almost perfect geometric pyramid, far more symmetrical than what would typically occur through natural processes. This odd precision has sparked alternative theories. Some independent researchers and theorists suggest this formation may not be a simple mountain at all, but rather the remnants of an ancient man-made pyramid, long buried beneath Antarctica's crushing ice sheets. The intrigue deepens when comparisons are drawn to ancient pyramids scattered around the globe in Egypt, Mexico, and Peru, all sharing common architectural traits: broad bases, steeply sloped sides, and precise alignments with cardinal directions. Could there have been a lost global knowledge of pyramid construction? Others argue that early civilizations arrived at the pyramid design independently, favoring it for its unparalleled stability and symbolic significance. A similar controversy surrounds the Bosnian pyramids, where some claim ancient step pyramids lie hidden beneath earth, and vegetation claims dismissed by many mainstream archaeologists but championed by alternative researchers who cite unusually smooth slopes and corner alignments as possible proof of artificial origin. Now, these same arguments are being extended to Antarctica. Proponents suggest that other nearby snow covered ridges and hills conceal additional pyramid like shapes, possibly remnants of a forgotten ancient civilization lost to time and ice. Satellite imagery of Antarctica reveals a perplexing sight: several peaks etched with strikingly symmetrical lines and bases that appear almost perfectly square. What deepens the mystery for scientists is not just the unusual geometry, but the extreme challenge of reaching these formations. Beneath Antarctica's vast icy expanse lies an ice sheet over a mile thick in some regions, concealing nearly the entire landmass. Only sparse outcrops break the surface, and extreme cold, isolation, and international treaties make thorough on-site exploration nearly unattainable. This leaves much of the story buried in secrecy. In the last decade, advances in satellite surveillance have transformed our view of the southernmost continent, providing unprecedented high-resolution images. As researchers sift through this treasure trove of data, more enigmatic features have emerged from the white expanse. Strange, shadowed shapes now appear across the landscape, some resembling doorway-like cavities etched into steep rock faces, others hinting at patterns reminiscent of staircases painstakingly carved into the icy terrain. One of the most debated findings lies in a remote sector of East Antarctica. Here, a massive rectangular aperture glares against the surrounding monotony. Positioned within a rock wall, this opening boasts unnaturally sharp edges and geometric precision, sharply contrasting with the organic randomness of the natural environment. The cavity's shadowed depths suggest significant volume, large enough, some speculate, for a small aircraft to pass through. Glaciologists propose natural causes for these phenomena. They argue that persistent ice flow around rock formations, aided by fierce Antarctic winds and extreme temperature variations, could gradually sculpt such features. Repeated cycles of melting and refreezing might generate gaps in the ice sheet, which, when viewed from above, take on geometrically regular shapes. Some scientists further contend that this apparent doorway is merely the exposed peak of a ridge, unveiled as ice levels dropped over time due to climate shifts. But the mystery does not stop there. On one of Antarctica's southernmost islands, satellite images recorded a vast cave mouth carved at the base of a snow-blanketed mountain. The darkness within the opening conceals any view of its interior, but surrounding details raise eyebrows. Horizontal, evenly spaced dark lines mark the slope leading to the entrance, unnatural in appearance, prompting questions. Could this be another relic of human activity, long forgotten beneath the Antarctic ice? Parallel ridges emerge from the icy slope, ascending in measured intervals, giving the uncanny appearance of a staircase leading deep into the mountain itself. This formation defies conventional geological explanations. Layers of snow and rock typically form irregular patterns, not uniform step-like terraces. Some experts suggest these features could stem from ancient collapses or patterns of uneven ice melt, but their precise alignment and consistent spacing hint at something far more deliberate. Speculation abounds. Could these formations be the result of an ancient civilization's forgotten handiwork? Or do they arise purely from natural forces yet to be fully understood? The debate remains unsettled. Adding to the intrigue, satellite observations reveal that these structures don't remain constant. In some years, the steps and openings are sharply defined, while in others, They are completely concealed beneath fresh snowfall. Following fierce storms or seasonal changes, they often reappear, sometimes altered, as if reshaped by unseen hands. But Antarctica wasn't always the barren ice desert we know today. Long before glaciers ruled the landscape, this vast continent may have flourished with rivers, dense forests, and vibrant ecosystems. A growing collection of scientific discoveries now paints a far different portrait of Antarctica, one that challenges our assumptions and fuels endless debate. For over a century, geologists and paleobotanists have been unearthing fossilized traces of ancient woodlands buried beneath the ice. During Robert Falcon Scott's ill-fated expedition in 1912, explorers stumbled upon fossilized leaves resembling beech trees near the Beardmore Glacier, just 500 kilometers from the South Pole. At first dismissed as a mistake, later analysis confirmed their authenticity. Further south, on Alexander Island and the Antarctic Peninsula, scientists uncovered upright fossilized trees still anchored in the soil where they originally grew. Some of these ancient trees towered as high as 7 meters. Surrounding them were layers of ancient pollen, leaves, and organic remnants, evidence of a lush rainforest that thrived some 100 million years ago. These ancient forests were part of a sprawling landscape of winding rivers, wetlands, and coastal plains. Remarkably, despite its position near the South Pole, the global climate of that era was far warmer. Fossil studies suggest average temperatures ranged from 13 to 21 degrees Celsius, with no extended freezing winters. The evidence indicates that conifers, ferns, and evergreens once flourished, surviving long months of polar darkness. More recent scientific efforts have strengthened this picture. A research team from Rice University drilled deep beneath the Antarctic Peninsula's ice, unearthing ancient pollen trapped in sediment layers. Their results revealed that tundra-like conditions persisted as recently as 12 million years ago. Prior to that, the slow advance of glaciation was underway, but some regions remained ice-free far longer than scientists had previously assumed. This ongoing revelation paints Antarctica not as a desolate wasteland, but as a continent with a rich, hidden past, perhaps even concealing secrets that could reshape our understanding of Earth's history. This ancient history brings us to a provocative question. Could early human or even pre-human civilizations have once inhabited Antarctica? The mainstream archaeological stance is clear and dismissive. According to current scientific consensus, Homo sapiens have existed for roughly 300 years, while the Antarctic ice sheets have been locked in place for over 14 million years based on the oldest ice core samples. The sheer scale of glaciation, combined with extreme conditions, seemingly leaves no room for advanced civilizations to have thrived here. And yet, whispers of mysterious artifacts and anomalous structures persist, challenging accepted narratives. In one of the most contentious and debated accounts, a geological research team claimed to have stumbled upon the remains of a massive stone edifice near the remote Doubleday Glacier. Descriptions spoke of towering columned walls, foundational blocks the size of small houses, and a layout resembling the architecture of ancient Roman amphitheaters. Even more curious were reports of strange artifacts, weathered stone carvings etched with undeciphered symbols, and coins bearing images of mythical creatures unknown to modern numismatics. Though no peer-reviewed scientific papers have ever validated these findings, the story spread rapidly within underground research circles and conspiracy forums, provoking both fervent belief and harsh skepticism. What if this was evidence of a lost chapter in human history, a civilization so ancient and advanced that it vanished beneath the ever-encroaching ice, leaving only cryptic remnants behind? The debate often circles back to one of history's most enigmatic documents, the Piri Reis map, created in 1513 by Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis. This partial world map is famous for its remarkably accurate depiction of South America and an inexplicable southern landmass. What makes it extraordinary is not just its precision, but the puzzling inclusion of Antarctica, illustrated not as a frozen wasteland, but with a coastline strikingly resembling its true ice free contours. Proponents of ancient knowledge argue that the precision of the Piri Reis map could not have been achieved with 16th century navigation tools. They suggest instead that it was based on far older source maps, possibly compiled from records of a lost seafaring civilization. Historian Charles Hapgood famously popularized this theory, positing that a prehistoric global culture of perhaps tens of thousands of years ago charted the world's coastlines, including an ice free Antarctica, and passed this knowledge through generations. Hapgood went further, claiming the map might reflect Antarctica's appearance during the end of the last ice age, between 10,0 and 40 BC. According to this theory, Antarctica was once warm enough to support life, allowing early civilizations to explore, settle, and even build monumental structures there. While mainstream academia ridicules these ideas as fringe pseudo history, the allure of a prehistoric cartographic secret endures, especially when one studies the map's uncanny accuracy for its era. What makes this even more fascinating is the modern technological revolution. In recent years, breakthroughs in satellite imaging and ice penetrating radar have peeled back the icy veil covering Antarctica, uncovering vast ancient landscapes frozen in time. In East Antarctica, researchers revealed a buried network of valleys and mountain ridges stretching across an area larger than Belgium. These features appear unnaturally regular, as though sculpted rather than formed by random geological processes. Even more astonishing, these ancient landscapes contain riverbeds, lake formations, and sediment deposits that indicate flowing water once traversed this land, a place that was once green, vibrant, and teeming with life. Ice core drilling has uncovered preserved plant material and microscopic fossils buried tens of millions of years ago, reinforcing the idea that Antarctica underwent a slow transition from a temperate paradise into an icy abyss. But could traces of ancient civilizations lie hidden beneath these layers? Some theorists argue that vast regions of unexplored ice conceal artificial structures, monolithic ruins, underground complexes, or temples built by a civilization lost to history. Satellite anomalies, geometric depressions, and strange linear formations all suggest that beneath Antarctica's frozen crust, more than just geological processes are at work. As the ice shifts with the passing millennia, revealing and concealing new features with each thaw and freeze, the mystery only deepens. What secrets does Antarctica still guard, hidden beneath its ancient frozen layers? And could unraveling this frozen enigma challenge the very story of human origins? This ancient landscape, once shaped by winding rivers, gentle rains, and shifting weather patterns, remained untouched and frozen in time for over 14 million years. Far beneath Antarctica's thick ice sheet lies a terrain that astonishingly resembles the rolling hills, plateaus, and interconnected waterways of northern Europe, a mosaic of valleys and ancient riverbeds long concealed from human eyes. Researchers believe that during warmer epochs, this hidden world supported abundant vegetation, from towering conifers to dense ferns, and perhaps even wildlife adapted to polar summers. But something dramatic and sudden changed its fate. The transformation of Antarctica was no isolated event. It was part of a vast global shift in Earth's climate, one of many cycles that have shaped our planet since its formation. Scientists have meticulously studied these cycles, known as glacial and interglacial periods. The last major ice age began about 2.6 million years ago, reaching its frigid peak around 20,000 years ago, only to retreat around 12,000 years ago, ushering in our present, relatively warm era. During such times, entire continents morphed beyond recognition. Fertile lands froze into wastelands. Seas rose and swallowed coastlines. Entire species vanished or adapted or were lost to extinction forever. Antarctica's radical shift from a fertile landscape to an icy desolation stands as one of the most striking examples of this natural climate ballet. Yet, there's a more controversial, tantalizing explanation that hints at forces far beyond simple climatic change. Known in fringe scientific circles as true polar wander or crustal displacement, this theory proposes that the Earth's rigid outer shell can, over time, shift over the liquid mantle, causing entire continents to migrate into new climate zones. Unlike the slow oscillations of axial tilt and precession, true polar wander could occur relatively rapidly in geological terms, potentially relocating Antarctica from a temperate, life-bearing zone to its current frigid position at the South Pole. Geological studies have uncovered strange anomalies, ancient rock formations, submerged shorelines, and sediment layers out of sync with expected timelines, offering tantalizing hints that continents have indeed shifted dramatically in the distant past. Beyond hard science, the speculative realm offers even more mysterious clues. Perhaps the most infamous is the prophecy of Edgar Cayce, the so-called sleeping prophet of the early 20th century. Through trance readings, Cayce spoke of monumental transformations awaiting Earth, rising seas, violent earthquakes, and unprecedented shifts in climate. Among his most astonishing claims was that Antarctica, long viewed as a lifeless, barren wasteland, would one day become fertile once again, its icy shroud melting to reveal a verdant paradise. Casey predicted that a significant movement of the Earth's axis would trigger massive flooding events, exposing ancient lands and wiping away modern civilizations, just as they had once wiped out an advanced, forgotten culture. If his words are more than prophecy, some theorists argue, could they instead reflect a suppressed memory from our collective past? What if, long before written history began, an ancient civilization thrived in Antarctica's mild climates, building structures, navigating its rivers, and developing technologies lost to time? And what if they were obliterated by a cataclysmic pole shift, their knowledge buried beneath kilometers of ice? Today, modern satellite imaging and ground penetrating radar have revealed a landscape unlike any other. Ancient valleys, as large as small countries, perfectly linear formations, and seemingly artificial plateaus hidden under layers of ice and rock. Some formations even suggest the possibility of man-made structures, pyramidal shapes, grid-like depressions, and oddly symmetrical platforms embedded in the frozen crust. These findings raise unsettling questions. Could some of these formations be the eroded remains of ancient cities, temples, or observatories built by people whose memory was erased by shifting ice and time? What lies beneath Antarctica's surface, just waiting for the right moment to emerge from obscurity? And yet, even as scientists drill deeper, revealing pollen samples and fossils, they encounter anomalies, objects, and structures that refuse to fit any natural explanation. Each new layer of ice peeled back seems to tell the same story. that Antarctica's true past is far more complex, far more mysterious than textbooks admit. As we continue this expedition into the heart of Earth's last forbidden continent, one truth becomes clear. The cold, endless ice does not hide just ancient glaciers and fossilized trees. It conceals a deeper, more profound enigma, one that may rewrite the history of humankind itself. One of the most intriguing mysteries buried deep beneath Antarctica's surface is its network of subglacial lakes, vast bodies of water trapped under kilometers of solid ice, completely isolated from the outside world for millions of years. The most famous among them is Lake Vostok, a colossal freshwater lake lying nearly 40 meters beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet. Scientists estimate that Lake Vostok has been sealed off from sunlight and air for 15 to 25 million years, making it one of the most extreme and isolated environments ever studied. In this perpetual darkness, under crushing pressure, researchers speculate that primitive life may still persist, surviving entirely independently of sunlight. After over a decade of drilling, Russian scientists finally reached the lake's surface in 2012. But instead of a clean breakthrough, what followed was extraordinary and frustrating in equal measure. As they breached the final layer of ice, the pressurized water erupted into the borehole, mixing uncontrollably with drilling fluids. No proper biological sample could be retrieved, leaving more questions than answers. Yet this achievement confirmed that such untouched ecosystems indeed exist beneath Antarctica's frozen crust. Lake Vostok is not an isolated anomaly. Today, scientists have identified over 400 subglacial lakes scattered across the continent, some as large as entire cities, others small, temporary basins filling and draining through hidden hydrological cycles. These lakes remain liquid not because of solar energy, but thanks to geothermal heat from Earth's interior and the immense insulating pressure of the overlying ice. What makes these lakes even more remarkable is their mysterious connectivity. Linked by networks of underground rivers, they form what some researchers call a frozen wetland, an interconnected labyrinth of liquid ecosystems hidden beneath solid ice. In recent years, a handful of expeditions have managed to penetrate other subglacial lakes. One of the most fascinating discoveries occurred at Lake Mercer, located beneath the West Antarctic ice sheet. In absolute darkness and under immense pressure, scientists uncovered a thriving microbial ecosystem bacteria that not only survived but flourished in an environment utterly devoid of sunlight, oxygen, or surface nutrients. Some researchers speculate that these microbes may even support tiny multicellular life forms, such as microscopic worms or tardigrade-like creatures perfectly adapted to extreme environments. But the real enigma arose with the discovery of Lake Enigma, a lake whose bed was covered with unusually structured microbial mats resembling carpets, alongside peculiar tree-like formations. The microbial life present included entirely new species, never before observed in such isolated, extreme habitats. These microorganisms didn't just survive in isolation. Some had developed complex relationships, parasitic, symbiotic, or cooperative, forming mini ecosystems in which life fed life. The sheer biological sophistication was a revelation, shaking the expectations of even the most seasoned scientists. Elsewhere, as ice shelves began to crack and collapse due to warming trends, new windows into the sea floor were exposed. In one remarkable case, beneath the George VI ice shelf, an entire ecosystem hidden for centuries revealed itself. Scientists discovered large corals, giant sea spiders, strange fish, octopuses, and other deep sea animals, all thriving in perpetual darkness. The size and age of these creatures suggested they had lived there for decades, undisturbed by human presence or surface changes, sustained only by slow moving, nutrient rich currents flowing from distant parts of the ocean. Even more astonishing was the discovery during drilling into the Filchneron ice shelf. A research team accidentally uncovered a massive boulder resting on the ancient sea floor, covered in sponges and mysterious filter feeding animals. These creatures lived 260 kilometers away from any sunlight source, in a place where life was once thought impossible. How did they survive? Their food must have traveled thousands of kilometers along sluggish ocean currents, yet somehow provided just enough energy to sustain life in this hostile world. Despite these groundbreaking revelations, Antarctica remains one of the least explored places on Earth. Extreme weather, treacherous terrain, political treaties, and strict environmental regulations severely limit large scale exploration efforts. As a result, this frozen continent guards its secrets more tightly than any other landmass on the planet. But for those daring enough to search deeper, the question lingers: what other hidden worlds remain beneath the Antarctic ice, waiting to be uncovered? Despite being the coldest, most remote continent on Earth, vast stretches of Antarctica remain untouched by human exploration. Immense frozen wildernesses still lie beyond the reach of even the most advanced expeditions. But from the rare glimpses scientists have managed to capture, it becomes undeniable. Antarctica is far from lifeless. One of the most astonishing and surreal phenomena ever recorded is a waterfall, unlike any other, a crimson cascade flowing from the ancient ice itself. Deep within the McMurdo dry valleys, where some of the driest, most barren landscapes on Earth converge, something strange flows from the face of the Taylor Glacier. Known as Blood Falls, this vivid scarlet torrent defies explanation, standing as one of the continent's most haunting natural mysteries. At first sight, Blood Falls appears straight out of a science fiction nightmare, a glacier seemingly bleeding into the desolate valley below. The waterfall stretches the height of a five-story building, and its intensely red liquid seeps into the stark white surroundings, staining the ice like an ominous wound carved by unseen forces. But beyond its shocking appearance lies a far more fascinating story. Millions of years ago, long before glaciers claimed this land, the region was submerged beneath ancient seas. As the ocean receded, isolated pockets of highly saline water were trapped beneath layers of ice hundreds of meters thick. Locked away from light, air, and any external contact, these pockets evolved in complete isolation, cut off from the rest of the world. Today, immense pressure beneath the glacier forces this iron-rich brine to flow through fissures and cracks. Once the liquid reaches the surface and meets the atmosphere, a remarkable chemical transformation occurs. The iron oxidizes, much like metal left to rust, turning the liquid a deep, vibrant red. Visually, it seems almost supernatural, but scientifically, it is an extraordinary natural process. The iron-rich waters of Blood Falls are not just a chemical marvel, they conceal an entire microscopic ecosystem. Extremophile microbes, perfectly adapted to survive in complete darkness, oxygen-free conditions, and crushing pressure, live within this liquid world. They derive energy by metabolizing iron and sulfur compounds, representing some of the most ancient and isolated life forms on the planet. These microorganisms are not merely scientific curiosities, they offer rare windows into the resilience of life itself. Their survival in such extreme conditions sheds light on how life could potentially exist beyond Earth, on frozen moons like Europa or Enceladus, where ice-covered oceans hide beneath the surface. Yet, despite extensive scientific research and understanding of its chemical processes, blood falls continues to captivate imaginations. It has become a magnet for speculation, attracting alternative theories and conspiracies. Some claim it is evidence of ancient buried civilizations. Others suggest it hides secrets far darker than science dares to admit. What truly lies beneath the ice of Antarctica? Is blood falls merely a natural anomaly or a sign of something far more profound? Some theorists claim that blood falls isn't simply a natural geological phenomenon. Instead, they propose it may be the surface vent of a vast, secret underground complex concealed deep beneath kilometers of ice. In this view, the crimson outflow isn't just the result of oxidized iron, but a byproduct of far more enigmatic processes, possibly artificial in origin. According to fringe researchers, this hidden structure could be a forgotten laboratory, abandoned or deliberately concealed, conducting experiments beyond the public eye. Others suggest a far more chilling idea that the red water flows from a biological experiment gone awry, a relic of covert research where iron and microbes were manipulated in ways never meant to see daylight. Despite decades of rigorous study by legitimate science, Antarctica continues to guard secrets that defy explanation, stories whispered on windswept ice fields that challenge accepted knowledge. Among the most enduring of these legends is the eerie tale of the Ningen, an alleged colossal creature said to inhabit the icy waters surrounding Antarctica. Described as a gigantic pale humanoid figure up to 30 meters in length, the Ningen has been reported by crews aboard Japanese research vessels. These witnesses tell of a silent, ghostly form emerging briefly from the ocean's surface, only to vanish again beneath the waves. Its face is said to resemble that of a human, featuring two small eyes and an unsettlingly expressionless mouth. Some accounts depict the Ningen as possessing arms and hands, giving it an almost human silhouette, while others describe it as a smooth, finned entity blending eerily into drifting icebergs. The first whispers of this creature appeared on Japanese online forums in the early 2000s, but the story quickly snowballed, captivating the imagination of conspiracy theorists and cryptozoologists alike. Speculation runs wild. Is the Ningen a relic of a prehistoric species, a creature that thrived when Antarctica was warm and teeming with life? Or could it represent something more profound, an intelligent being capable of walking beneath the ice or even on land? Some theorists go so far as to claim that governments are fully aware of the Ningen's existence, but actively suppress the truth, fearing the implications such a discovery would have for science, security, or public perception. Another enigmatic legend stretches even further back in history, that of the Kraken. While traditionally linked to Norse tales in the North Atlantic, the Southern Ocean harbors its own version of this terrifying leviathan. In 2016, satellite imagery near Deception Island showed a strange, elongated shadow beneath the water's surface. Though scientists identified it as a natural sea stack, a rock formation rising from the depths, the uncanny shape resembled a massive creature lurking below. Given that colossal squid, the largest known of their kind, inhabit these extreme depths, it's no wonder the myth of gigantic sea monsters continues to stir. The ocean surrounding Antarctica remains a shadowed abyss, one that hints at life forms still hidden from modern science. Yet not all Antarctic tales revolve around monstrous beings. Some are far more disturbing. Throughout the 20th century, explorers and scientists have reported unnerving experiences, moments of inexplicable paranoia, the sensation of unseen eyes watching from the endless white, and even the presence of invisible entities walking beside them in the snow. One of the most famous incidents comes from Sir Ernest Shackleton, the legendary explorer of the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. In 1916, during a desperate march across South Georgia Island, Shackleton recounted a sensation of a fourth companion silently walking with their group, despite only three men being present. His two companions later confirmed they had felt the same presence, an event that remains shrouded in mystery. Even darker is the haunting story of the schooner Jenny, an eerie chapter of polar lore dating back to the early 1840s. According to contemporaneous reports, a British whaling ship named Hope came across a vessel trapped in the ice near the South Shetland Islands. This ship, known as the Jenny, stood frozen in place, with its crew reportedly still on board, preserved in time. Strangely, the crew was found upright at their workstations, frozen and unmoving, as though suspended in their final moments. The last entry in the ship's log, written by the captain himself, read, May 4th, 1823. No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. The Hope crew documented the chilling discovery, but left the vessel undisturbed, and the Jenny vanished from official records, never to be seen again. Its fate remains one of the most unsettling mysteries of the polar world. Beyond the known and the documented, Antarctica continues to guard its deepest, darkest enigmas. The continent's brutal winters, complete darkness, and profound isolation create the perfect breeding ground for stories that blur the line between fact and legend. What secrets remain hidden beneath the ice? What truths have been buried, waiting for discovery? The answers may lie further beneath the surface, if we dare to look. Scattered across this barren, frozen desert lie the relics of early explorers, abandoned huts and outposts, silent witnesses to humanity's desperate quest to conquer the Antarctic wilderness. Decades later, personnel stationed in the region still report strange, unexplained phenomena. Footsteps echo through the snow where no one walks. Doors creak open by themselves. Faint whispers seem to ride the icy wind. Some researchers who dared to enter these deserted huts claim to have felt an overwhelming presence, as though unseen eyes were watching their every move. Tools vanish mysteriously, only to reappear later, exactly where they've been last placed. Scientists often attribute these oddities to the extreme isolation and unforgiving conditions, explaining that prolonged silence, sub-zero temperatures, and the surreal light cycles of endless day or night can play tricks on the mind, triggering auditory illusions and feelings of paranoia. Yet skeptics remain unconvinced. The fact that the enigmatic blood falls lies within this same region feels far too deliberate to dismiss as mere coincidence, a scarlet mystery amid the white expanse, beckoning questions that go unanswered. Interest in Antarctica's hidden secrets stretches back long before satellites mapped its surface or international treaties sought to control it. In the shadow of the 20th century's darkest hour, Nazi Germany became fascinated by the frozen continent's potential. In 1938, Adolf Hitler authorized a covert Antarctic mission, cloaked in the guise of resource exploration, but driven by ambitions far beyond whale oil production. At the time, Germany relied heavily on Norwegian whale oil imports, essential for manufacturing margarine, soap, and industrial lubricants. But Hitler's vision demanded self-sufficiency, a bold strategy that pointed to the Southern Ocean as an untapped resource frontier. On December 17, 1938, the ship MS Schwabenland departed the port of Hamburg, carrying 82 men, a mix of scientists, naval officers, technicians, and a high-ranking Nazi Party representative. Their target, an unclaimed stretch of Queen Maud Land, wedged between British and Norwegian territories, waiting to be annexed. Weeks later, the ship arrived at Antarctica's desolate coast. Its two Dornier Wall seaplanes took to the sky, surveying vast expanses of ice and snow. In a show of geopolitical assertion, the planes dropped aluminum darts stamped with swastikas, marking the territory as Germany's own. The Germans christened this area Neuschwabenland New Swabia, named after their vessel. In total, the expedition mapped more than 600 square kilometers, vastly expanding the known geography of the continent. Some of the photographs taken during this venture were in color, a technological marvel at the time, and today stand as valuable, mysterious historical records. Officially, the mission concluded in February 1939, mere months before the outbreak of World War II. But while the maps and photos were archived, countless rumors began to circulate. Whispers of hidden Nazi bases, of secret experiments, of forbidden technology buried beneath the ice. What was left behind after the Schwabenland departed? What truths remain locked in the frozen wastes of New Swabia? The Schwabenland expedition returned to Hamburg with thousands of aerial photographs and geological observations. While the scientific material gathered was significant, much of it was not widely published at the time. Some data appeared decades later, in the late 1950s, while other portions remained archived or difficult to access. For many years, the 1938-39 expedition was remembered as a scientific venture focused on mapping and resource surveys. Its geopolitical impact appeared limited in comparison to the global events that soon followed. However, the lack of publicly available information led to speculation and unanswered questions about its broader purpose. Historians generally agree that the primary goals of the expedition were whaling research, territorial mapping, and resource exploration. Yet in the post-war years, myths and alternative narratives began to emerge, often exaggerating the intentions or outcomes of the mission. These stories reflected the uncertainty of the time and the enduring curiosity about Antarctica's unexplored regions, but they remained speculative rather than evidence-based. The German submarine U-530 surfaced unexpectedly at the Argentine naval base of Mar del Plata. The following month, U-977 appeared under similarly mysterious circumstances. Neither crew offered a convincing explanation for their long voyages or what they had been doing in the remote South Atlantic. Speculation arose that they had delivered high-ranking Nazis or valuable cargo to a hidden Antarctic outpost before surrendering. Yet to this day, no physical evidence of a Nazi base beneath the Antarctic ice has ever been uncovered. No tunnels, no abandoned structures, no secret chambers carved into the rock. Still, parts of Neuschwabenland, particularly the Schirmacher oasis first mapped by the Germans, remain active zones for scientific research. Today, Russia, India, and other nations operate research stations in the area, further deepening its mysterious allure. The story gained new intrigue with Operation High Jump, one of the largest military expeditions ever deployed to Antarctica. In 1946 and 1947, the United States launched this massive undertaking, led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Over 700 men, 13 ships, and dozens of aircraft were involved. Officially, the goal was training, mapping, and testing equipment under extreme polar conditions, yet the scale and urgency of the operation hinted at something far greater. Some theorists suggest Byrd's fleet was sent to investigate or even eliminate a Nazi presence still active on the continent. Operation High Jump was unlike any expedition before it. Divided into three powerful naval groups, Eastern, Western, and Central, each carried specialized aircraft and icebreaker support. Rear Admiral Richard H. Cruzen commanded the operation, but it was Byrd himself, a decorated naval officer and legendary polar explorer, who became the mission's public face. The expedition established Little America 4, conducting extensive aerial surveys. By its end, over 1.5 million square miles of Antarctica had been photographed and thousands of images collected. But it wasn't the photographs that would capture the world's attention. It was what happened behind the scenes. Officially, Operation High Jump lasted from December 1946 to March 1947, but the mission was cut short weeks earlier than planned. This abrupt departure fueled speculation. Reports of damaged aircraft, unexplained losses, and strange encounters led some to believe that something had gone terribly wrong or that something had been discovered. Among the most persistent theories, the expedition's true objective was to locate a rumored underground Nazi base near Queen Maud Land, the same territory the Germans had explored years before. Proponents of this theory point to the sheer number of military personnel involved, advanced long-range reconnaissance aircraft, and the series of unexplained air crashes, including the mysterious disappearance of the Martin PBM-5 flying boat, George I, which claimed the lives of three crewmen. But the story deepened further in the decades that followed. In the 1960s, a document began circulating an alleged secret diary kept by Admiral Byrd during the expedition. In it, Byrd reportedly describes an encounter unlike any other. According to the account, during a reconnaissance flight, Byrd's instruments failed. His radio was hijacked. He was guided to a hidden landing strip deep within the ice. There, Byrd claimed to have met tall beings with luminous eyes and advanced technology entities that led him to an underground city called Agartha. Agartha is a mythical kingdom said to exist beneath the earth itself, a central tenet of the Hollow. In Tibetan lore, there is Shambhala, a mystical kingdom said to lie deep within the planet. The Mayans spoke of Xibalba, the underworld where gods and spirits dwell, and the Celts recounted tales of underground cities accessible only by the worthy. But the modern fascination with an inner world gained significant momentum in the late 1800s when esoteric European writers began promoting the idea of an ancient, lost civilization thriving beneath the Earth's crust. The theory rose to prominence, particularly after whispers of a connection to Admiral Byrd's Antarctic expedition surfaced. According to an alleged diary attributed to Byrd, secretive inhabitants of this hidden world called the Agarthans warned him of humanity's reckless march toward nuclear destruction. These mysterious beings claimed to have monitored surface society for centuries, deeply troubled by its self-destructive tendencies. They instructed Byrd to carry their message back to global powers, a plea for harmony, caution, and coexistence. He was then reportedly escorted back through the frozen layers, never to disclose further details. Yet, the authenticity of this account remains unproven and widely disputed. Skeptics argue the entire narrative is a fabrication. Official records and Byrd's public statements omit any such encounter, and no evidence has ever surfaced to corroborate the diary's existence. Still, the secrecy surrounding aspects of Operation High Jump and Byrd's own cryptic remarks fueled public intrigue. In a seldom cited 1947 interview in Chile, Byrd ominously remarked about the growing importance of polar regions, suggesting that future threats might emerge from the poles. Some believe this was a veiled reference to something he encountered in Antarctica. As the Cold War escalated, the United States intensified its polar activities. Following High Jump came Operation Windmill in 1947, 1948, and later during the International Geophysical Year of 1957-58, Operation Deep Freeze. Byrd remained involved until his declining health forced his retirement. He passed away in 1957, months after his last Antarctic mission. Though the scientific gains from these operations were real significant mapping and data collection, their military scale and sudden terminations continued to stir suspicion. Was it truly a series of research efforts, or did hidden objectives lie beneath the surface? Strange tales began circulating at the time, pointing to aircraft that vanished or behaved in ways defying known physics. Witnesses spoke of flying machines unlike anything officially developed, silent, supersonic, and circular in shape. At first, these were dismissed as hearsay, but soon after the war, global reports of unidentified flying objects began accumulating. This growing phenomenon led many theorists to draw a connection between post-war UFO sightings and the secret technological ambitions of Nazi Germany. During the war, German engineers pushed the envelope with jet propulsion, guided missiles, and experimental propulsion systems. At the same time, high-ranking Nazi officials were obsessed with occult knowledge, ancient myths, and esoteric science. Within this shadowy domain, two secretive groups frequently emerge in the stories. The Thule Society, obsessed with Aryan origin myths and inner Earth theories, and the Vril Society, which believed in harnessing a mystical energy known simply as Vril. Allegedly, members of the Vril Society sought communication with otherworldly entities, possibly extraterrestrial or subterranean, through meditation and arcane rituals. Some accounts claim their work went beyond spiritual practice and extended into technological experimentation. Stories persist about Nazi scientists attempting to construct devices powered by this enigmatic energy, bridging ancient belief and cutting-edge engineering. Names like Haunebu, Vril, and Die Glock, the Bell, frequently appear in these theories. Supposedly, these were prototype vehicles, disc-shaped and capable of silent flight, driven by technologies far beyond conventional science, perhaps even tapping into anti-gravity mechanisms. Among all the mysterious Nazi technologies, Die Glock stands out as the most legendary. It was allegedly a bell-shaped device emitting an unusual luminescence and producing strange, haunting sounds. Some accounts suggested it could fly without wings, while others claimed it possessed the ability to warp time and space itself. Most of these details originated from post-war conspiracy theorists, and tangible proof remains scarce. Nevertheless, Die Glock became one of the most infamous elements in the lore of Nazi UFO conspiracies. Following World War II, these rumors gained further momentum. By 1947, only 2 years after Germany's surrender, the first significant wave of UFO sightings swept across the United States, sparking global curiosity. Researchers began speculating. Were these mysterious crafts of extraterrestrial origin or advanced secret projects developed by German scientists? That same year, the U.S. initiated Operation Paperclip, a covert initiative that brought hundreds of German engineers and scientists to America. Many had previously contributed to Nazi weapons research and were now instrumental in developing America's rocketry and aerospace programs. Some theorists suggest these experts didn't just share knowledge of jet propulsion and rocketry, but also smuggled in designs for flying saucers. A few even proposed that some of the early UFO sightings were clandestine test flights of top secret Nazi technology. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union captured German scientists, secret documents, and experimental devices, igniting a technological race between the superpowers. If disc-shaped aircraft ever existed, some believe they found a place in classified military projects either in the US or USSR. But one of the more extraordinary theories goes further. Certain Nazi officials supposedly made contact with non-human entities, whether extraterrestrials or beings from another dimension. These entities allegedly offered forbidden knowledge through clandestine meetings, dreams, or telepathic exchanges. Following the war, it is claimed that high ranking Nazis fled to secret Antarctic strongholds, where they continued their experiments away from prying eyes. Over the decades, books, articles, documentaries, and TV programs proliferated, fueling these sensational ideas. Theories connected Nazi science not only to UFOs, but to ancient technologies lost to time. Some enthusiasts argue that the Nazis collaborated directly with alien civilizations, while others insist they unearthed advanced relics from vanished societies. Historians acknowledge that Nazi Germany made significant advances in military tech. Jet aircraft, guided missiles, and early rocket development were indeed real. However, when it comes to anti gravity devices, alien alliances, or flying discs, no verifiable evidence has ever surfaced. Most documents making such claims are either lost, unverifiable, or likely fabricated. Yet these tales refuse to fade away. In fact, the rise of satellite imagery and global mapping tools has only intensified public fascination with Antarctica's enigmas. Nowadays, sightings of strange objects, peculiar land formations, and unexplained geometric patterns on the frozen continent are reported more often than ever. Platforms like Google Earth empower anyone around the world to explore the icy wilderness remotely, expanding amateur investigation into the unknown. One particular image, emerging from the southern Atlantic sector of Antarctica, has recently captured worldwide attention, sparking fresh debate over what secrets the continent may still conceal. An image circulated online showing what seemed like a long, straight trace in the ice, ending at a large, dark object resting at an angle. Many quickly speculated it was the crash site of an unidentified flying object. The trail implied movement across the icy terrain, and the half buried, partially exposed structure fueled a surge of theories. Some argued it was a covert aircraft, while others claimed it originated from beyond Earth. Another satellite image displayed a peculiar oval formation, partially covered by snow, standing out sharply against the otherwise flat white landscape. Its smooth curves and symmetrical shape led some investigators to suggest it looked artificial. Several enthusiasts online speculated it resembled a large disc-shaped object, potentially a buried ship being gradually exposed as the ice melted. Others pointed to its perfectly curved edges and proposed it might be part of a much larger hidden structure, possibly an entrance to an underground complex. Not all unusual sightings appeared man-made, however. One of the most talked about satellite photos revealed what resembled a gigantic face emerging from the snow. Located deep in Antarctica's southeastern area, the image seemed to depict frozen facial features, a pair of eyes, a nose, and a mouth all etched into the icy surface. Dubbed an alien face by many viewers, others likened it to ancient statues or mythical beings. Rumors rapidly spread that some mysterious entity or ancient civilization had left its mark on the ice. For some observers, this was yet another hint that Antarctica harbored relics of a forgotten age. To others, it symbolized ongoing surveillance by hidden forces beneath the ice. Elsewhere on the continent, a satellite picture of a solitary iceberg caught attention as it resembled a large ship, half submerged and tilted within the sea ice. From a particular perspective, it looked eerily similar to a cruise liner crafted from ice, complete with what seemed like windows, decks, and even chimneys. Although no one asserted it was an actual vessel, the sharply defined geometric features led many to suggest that it was intentionally shaped or perhaps constructed by intelligent hands. Speculation ran wild, ranging from covert engineering experiments to remnants of ancient civilizations locked away in ice, slowly becoming visible. Additional satellite images and on the ground reports described remarkably preserved seal carcasses found far inland, miles from the ocean, high in the mountains. These mummified remains, sometimes dating back centuries or even millennia, were discovered in locations far outside known animal migration paths. Nobody has been able to definitively explain how or why these animals ended up in such remote spots. Some theorize they chased distant glimmers of light, mistaking them for water sources. Others believed their presence hinted at something more extraordinary, perhaps evidence of ancient climate shifts or vanished pathways when the land's geography was different. To some, they were unsolved natural anomalies. To others, they were quiet messages from the past. Scientists worldwide continue to propose logical, science based explanations, focusing on meteorological and geological phenomena. Yet for many, these answers fail to convince. The fact that Antarctica remains one of the world's most restricted and heavily monitored regions fuels suspicions that something is being deliberately concealed. This mistrust leads back to a pivotal moment, the signing of the Antarctic Treaty on December 1959. As the Cold War intensified. 12 nations met in Washington, D.C. to sign an agreement that would redefine the future of Antarctica. Among them were major powers like the United States, Soviet Union, and United Kingdom, all of which had participated in scientific exploration during the International Geophysical Year of 1957-58. Though the treaty was relatively brief, consisting of only 14 articles, it soon became one of the most unique and effective diplomatic measures in modern history. Formally enacted on June 23rd, 1961, the treaty declared that the entire region south of the 60th parallel would be reserved solely for peaceful purposes. Military activities were prohibited, along with nuclear tests and the disposal of radioactive waste. Scientific investigations were to remain transparent and open to all member nations, and no new territorial claims were permitted. Researchers were required to share their findings globally. At first glance, the treaty appeared as a noble effort to protect the continent for scientific study and peace. Over time, additional nations joined, and today more than 50 countries are part of the agreement. Yet it is precisely this unprecedented cooperation during an era marked by fierce geopolitical conflict that has led some to question its true motives. Signed merely 14 years after World War II and amidst the Cold War struggle between the US and Soviet Union, today the continent isn't officially off limits, but access remains tightly regulated. Only a limited number of researchers are granted permission to live and work there, and they must undergo specialized training, carry advanced equipment, and secure official clearance. Tourists can visit, but only in designated coastal zones under strict supervision. The vast interior, stretching across millions of square kilometers, remains almost entirely unreachable. There are places where aircraft are prohibited from flying, and specific regions are labeled as environmentally protected and off limits. Even visiting scientific bases require prior autorisation. All these restrictions contribute to Antarctica's image as a forbidden land. Some theorists suggest alien technology lies entombed beneath the ice. Others believe the frozen expanse once sheltered a forgotten civilization, possibly connected to Atlantis or other ancient legends. There are also claims that secret government experiments take place there, far from public scrutiny. To many, the secrecy, constant monitoring, and stringent controls point directly to a hidden reality. Over time, the original Antarctic Treaty evolved into the more comprehensive Antarctic Treaty system, encompassing additional protocols and strict environmental regulations. It even established its own administrative body based in Buenos Aires. Every year, member nations convene to discuss scientific collaboration, safety measures, and conservation efforts. Yet these gatherings are not open to the general public. While many argue that the system safeguards Antarctica, others are convinced it's designed to protect something far more secretive. For the vast majority of people, Antarctica is simply an off limits, icy wilderness. But for scientists, it is a vast natural laboratory, a place where ancient history is preserved in ice, and where humanity may find answers about Earth's future. Despite the myths, conspiracies, and legends swirling around it, Antarctica's real significance may lie not in hidden objects, but in the truths it reveals. Scientific expeditions over decades have gradually expanded our understanding of the planet. Beneath its enormous ice sheet, sometimes over 4 kilometers thick, lie trapped layers of ancient atmosphere. These ice layers serve as time capsules, preserving data about past temperatures, atmospheric composition, and environmental shifts stretching back over 1 million years. By drilling deep into the ice, scientists can track Earth's climate changes and compare them to the alarming pace of modern global warming. The discovery of the ozone layer depletion over Antarctica in 1985 was one of the first major examples of how research here exposes invisible yet global threats. But while the ice holds secrets of the past, Antarctica's future may face a far less anticipated danger: biological invaders. These invaders are very real and they're alive. Researchers now raise alarms about the growing number of non-native species reaching Antarctica, transported unintentionally by ships, aircraft, supplies, or even the soles of people's shoes. A single fly boarding a research ship or a seed hitching a ride on a jacket could trigger a serious ecological threat. In 2014, an Australian hydroponics facility at Davis Station was overwhelmed by a tiny springtail, a type of invertebrate never seen before in that region. The creatures rapidly multiplied within the warm, humid conditions and were observed floating across water surfaces. Scientists reacted swiftly, shutting down the entire operation, sterilizing the facility, and eventually dismantling it altogether. The response resembled measures used to contain a viral epidemic. In such a delicate ecosystem, even the tiniest intrusion can have unpredictable, potentially devastating consequences. Other biological invasions proved harder to track. A mushroom fly discovered within the sewage system of a research base persisted for more than 2 decades. Meanwhile, marine species such as mussels from faraway oceans have been found along the Antarctic Peninsula, likely transported via the hulls of research or tourist vessels. Though small in size, these organisms have the potential to transform entire ecosystems if left unchecked. As rising temperatures cause the edges of Antarctica to melt, regions once securely shielded by ice are gradually becoming reachable both for humans and invasive species. For scientists, these biological intrusions aren't just logistical headaches, they serve as urgent warnings. The ecosystem in Antarctica is incredibly fragile, having evolved in isolation over millions of years. But now that isolation is crumbling. Researchers are in a race against time to study and document native species before they are displaced by newcomers. Antarctica may represent the last untouched corner of Earth free from industrial expansion, but that pristine condition is no longer assured. Some experts even propose that the influx of non native organisms may help answer a much larger mystery. What happens when two ecosystems, or even two entirely different worlds, collide? In many ways, the arrival of foreign species in Antarctica reflects the same curiosity that fuels the study of extraterrestrial life. When scientists talk about alien species, they don't refer to life from distant planets, but the idea isn't far off. These organisms arrive from outside ecosystems, unknown and uninvited, altering the environment in ways that are difficult to predict. As the Antarctic climate warms and becomes increasingly accessible, the continent is entering an unprecedented phase. Tourism is expanding. Supply lines are growing. The once imposing natural barriers, extreme cold, stormy seas, extreme remoteness, are weakening. For the scientific community, this creates both great opportunity and significant risk. One of the most critical questions now being investigated on this secluded land might have global implications. Over the last century, average temperatures around the world have surged at an alarming pace. Few places have experienced this shift as intensely as Antarctica. The Antarctic Peninsula, in particular, is heating up faster than almost any other region on Earth. In some areas, the temperature has climbed by nearly 3 degrees Celsius over the last 50 years. Consequently, glaciers are retreating, sea ice is melting earlier every year, and entire ice shelves are beginning to disintegrate. These transformations are not isolated, they affect the whole planet. Antarctica holds about 90% of the Earth's fresh water within its immense ice sheets. Should this ice melt significantly, global sea levels would rise. A complete collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheet alone could result in a rise of more than 3 meters in sea level. Although such a total meltdown could take centuries, evidence suggests the process has already begun. As the ice continues to shrink, a previously unthinkable question emerges. Could Antarctica become green once more? While it may sound implausible, the continent hasn't always been encased in ice. Around 100 million years ago, during the dinosaur era, Antarctica was a warm, forested region. Fossil discoveries reveal it once supported thriving ecosystems lush with trees, ferns, and even signs of ancient wildfires. Beneath today's frozen surface lie preserved remains of ancient rivers, valleys, and landscapes held in time. If global warming continues at its current pace, some parts of Antarctica, especially the coastal zones, may gradually return to that ancient state. Some scientists predict that by the end of this century, rising temperatures and heavier rainfall could enable grasslands and hardy plant species to establish themselves along the edges. In fact, invasive plants, like bluegrass, have already been detected on the peninsula, and Gentoo penguin populations, which thrive in milder climates, are shifting farther south. Over the next 2 centuries, experts predict that some coastal regions of Antarctica could warm enough to support limited forms of agriculture. Crops like barley and potatoes, as well as grazing animals, might survive short growing seasons in carefully selected areas. Scientists even suggest that small human settlements could one day exist without complete dependence on imported food. Yet this potential greening comes at a significant cost. The melting ice sheets will profoundly impact global climate patterns. Rising seas could threaten coastal cities worldwide, while ecosystems that have thrived in isolation for millions of years may be overwhelmed by invading species. The very landscapes that draw researchers the untouched wilderness, the frozen stillness might be lost forever. Despite warming, Antarctica's extreme conditions, long periods of darkness, low sun angles, and harsh temperatures will continue to limit possibilities. Most of the interior will remain too cold, dry, and dark to support conventional farming or permanent human habitation. However, along the fringes, where sunlight lasts longer and temperatures rise, life may gradually re-establish itself. The future of Antarctica remains uncertain. Some see it as a potential last refuge for life, a cold sanctuary as equatorial regions grow increasingly inhospitable. Others caution that once ice loss reaches a tipping point, the consequences could extend far beyond current predictions. What is clear is that the world is watching. Antarctica, long regarded as a frozen time capsule, now reflects humanity's impact on the planet and hints at what lies ahead. Scientists continue to observe its changes from remote research stations and satellites, seeking insights into both our past and future. The continent is no longer entirely silent. Its glaciers crack, weather patterns shift, and secrets buried beneath the ice are slowly emerging. Until the frozen layers fully disclose their hidden history, Antarctica remains Earth's final great unknown, a land of mystery, science, and caution. If this journey has sparked curiosity or theories of your own, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you think more people should explore the mysteries of Antarctica, like the video and help spread the story. Keep an open mind. And until next time.